More and more people are riding bikes these days, and there's a plethora of reasons why they do. But here, in the depths of winter, I'm no different to many of you. The motivation to get out on a bike is not so easy to muster, compared to on a beautiful sunny August day. It got me thinking though, what are the different reasons I ride my bike, and therefore different styles or kinds of bike ride to go on as a result? The overarching reason should be, and certainly is with me, because I enjoy it. Simple. None of us would stick to it if that wasn't the case. Although arguably, there is one way more important reason than this, which I'll finish off with at the end of this video. There are though a couple of reasons why some people ride, certainly don't apply to me, and I definitely not find them enjoyable. Racing is not something I've ever done or want to do, to be honest. Leave that to the pros and enthusiasts, eh? But each to their own. I may have dreamt of sprinting alongside Chris Froome and Egan Bernal with friends and family watching on, but that's as far as it went. Secondly, commuting to work. Not something I've ever had to do, and I do tip my hat to those of you who do this, often in busy traffic and in all weathers. And although it doesn't seem to fit into the category of enjoyable, the fact is that if one of the reasons you cycle is to keep fit and you enjoy being fit, then commuting to work regularly is a big part of that and therefore can be enjoyable. The nearest I come to this, I guess, is deciding to cycle when weather allows to visit my mum perhaps, rather than use the car. So I guess, alongside you keen cycle commuters, this reason to cycle for me is classed as utility cycling, simply to get from A to B. And of course, a consequence of everyone who does this is it helps the environment. When I took up cycling, a large reason for doing so was to get fit. I just retired through ill health and was physically a slob, pumping painkillers to fight my arthritis. And I wanted to do something about it rather than live my life like that. My inspiration was my grandchildren. My son was approaching 40, and I decided I'd also like to celebrate his children's 40th birthday with them one day. It took a few years to get where I am now, apart from when I have a specific challenge like cycling up Mount Ventoux in September this year, where I may do some targeted harder training. I'm generally happy to swap the title Getting Fitter to Keeping Fit as a reason I cycle. Another issue for me when I first took up cycling was I'd been suffering from anxiety and depression, and read that any exercise out in the fresh air was helpful, and it's dead right. Although the majority of the issues which caused me a problem were work related, so they're behind me now, I still have problems with any form of conflict and still can feel the stress building. Getting out on my bike amongst nature is a fantastic antidote. And sometimes you just forget when your head's down. It's just complete silence. A couple of birds twittering. Absolutely gorgeous. Sometimes it's the solitude of just me and nature that works, and other times it's sharing a sociable ride with like-minded people. Which brings me to club bike rides. Possibly the single biggest reasons I kept riding in the early days. There are loads of reasons why joining a club is enormously beneficial. I'd recommend this to anyone who enjoys cycling. I'll go into detail on the reasons you should think about this in this video, which I'll link to at the end of the video here. But the social aspect is massive, and I discovered a large group of new friends as a result, who weren't bored hearing details of my last great ride and my squeaky bottom bracket. A subject definitely to avoid with non-cycling friends and family, I assure you. Some of us cyclists like to challenge ourselves and maybe push ourselves beyond our comfort zone and get that great sense of achievement when a challenge is conquered. It doesn't matter how big the challenge is, it's all relative to what you're used to doing. It's a great mental health boost too, and cycling has given me this in spades. All the way from your first 10-mile ride through things like your first 50, your first century ride. You never forget them because there were such important milestones and events at the time. Personally, this kind of bike ride became so important to my enjoyment of cycling, I kept looking for more, astonishing myself in 2021 by entering and completing Land's End to John O'Groats in 14 days. And I plan to cycle across France in September this year. Another reason for riding is connected with those challenges. Some of you will raise funds for a favourite charity on your bike, which I do for a local baby hospice, Zoe's Place. This has given me two other types of ride. Although the rides are as much about the challenge ultimately, there's a particular feeling of inspiration, determination and humbleness when you're on rides like when I joined a group of 10 others, cycling from Zoe's Place Hospice in Middlesbrough to the one in Liverpool. And finishing at my local one in Coventry. And the charity link gives me probably my most unusual type of ride. When I discovered how lucrative it is for the charity to advertise my next challenge by setting up my indoor trainer and bike in a local supermarkets and shopping centres. I tend to collect between £400 and £800 in donations on a Saturday and find great pleasure in the interaction I get with the public, along with a great sense of satisfaction that my efforts are making a difference to the kids and families that use Zoe's Place. To ensure I have a hope of achieving these challenges, there's a very different kind of bike ride I have to engage in. Something I don't often do unless I have specific needs to boost my fitness and strength to be able to complete a particular event. So because of the France Challenge right now, I'm doing some of these. Not my most enjoyable type of bike ride by any means, so very much a necessary evil, which kind of contradicts the overarching reason of bike riding supposed to be enjoyable. Because it involves a very prescribed set of instructions regarding cadence and power, I find it too distracting to do these on an outdoor ride, so I tend to do most of these workout rides indoors. Which brings me to the next kind of bike ride, indoor rides in my garage and the turbo trainer. Now, indoor rides used to be associated with very unenjoyable and necessary sweaty workouts, but these days there's much more to it. It was the advent of fantastic software like Zwift and others that made hours of sweating in the garage a more pleasurable and immersive experience. Aside from occasional workouts then, when the weather or lack of time isn't conducive to an outdoor ride, I do enjoy a great sociable experience in the garage, either meeting up with my son on Zwift or one of the many group rides organised by people like these, the Pack. I have a video about them, which I'll link at the end of this video. I thoroughly recommend it. Another reason I get on my bike, of course, is to film these videos that you're kind enough to watch on YouTube. Not the most energetic in most cases, when it's just me talking to the camera, so it's a bit stop-start to be honest, but I'm still out in the fresh air of course. On other occasions though, it's the energetic bits that probably provide most entertainment to watchers who get to see me really suffering. Oh bloody hell. Oh. Come on. And by making these videos and doing the challenges I do for my charity, I also get to see new places I otherwise wouldn't get to see. My video series on the book Great British Bike Rides, for example, has taken me to places I'd never see if I hadn't taken up cycling. We really do have a beautiful country. And it's not just there to explore on an annual family holiday. It's all around us where we live. I realised this very early on when I wanted to cycle from home to a specific place and didn't like the idea of cycling on the busy roads I'd driven on 100 times to get there. There's a vast network of quiet, little used lanes all over the UK once you're outside built up areas that you just don't see when driving. and I was pleasantly surprised to do almost all of that ride on these little lanes with very little traffic. Lanes I was vaguely aware were there just down the road from me, but in 20 years I'd never been down them. So there are loads of reasons why we all get out on our bikes. And on these dark and cold winter days, it's worth reminding ourselves why we do it, how great it all is, and think about plans from when the weather improves. If you feel like you'd like to do more of it, keep at it. And after a while, it just becomes part of your life and your weekly routine. There's no doubt for me, my life is richer and more varied and interesting because I took up cycling. And I'm healthier, fitter, and happier mentally as a result. In fact, I challenge some of you pure utility cyclists to give cycling for pleasure a go. You're already doing the most difficult part after all, negotiating heavy traffic. So why not try it out? And oh yeah, I nearly forgot. The single most important reason why we ride. And most importantly, you'll also see plenty of cake. Of course, these days, renamed ECF, Essential Cycling Fuel. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll hand you back to Bill in the studio. Thanks, Bill. Leave me some cake, mate. Anyway, I'll leave you with a couple of videos I mentioned earlier, just here. Please consider giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. That would be really helpful. Happy cycling, and I'll see you soon.